Hello, everyone. Today we are going to go through a game called Crazy 8. This is a pretty simple game, but still there is some strategy involved, and there's definitely a few differences among the variations. So we're going to walk through a couple of the different game types and talk about the rules. Start with my opponent, game driven, creating a couple Crazy 8 games, the standard, and I'll actually just make one of each. And we'll go with the pool game and the bumper game. So she has put, if I refresh this, a pool. Oops, I didn't get the standard one. There's the standard one. I usually do pick 7 days just because I don't like games that time out. So there's one version of each type so we can see the different board layouts. And then I'll go into Crazy 8. I'm actually in the middle of 3 games. Go to the lobby and pick those games up. So if we look at the Crazy 8 rules, we're going to see actually all 4 layouts shown at the top of the rule page. So this is a 8x8 grid, and the goal of the game is to bookend your opponent's balls. You'll always be the yellow ball. So whoever is actually looking at their own board, they're going to see their own balls in yellow. And you basically put your yellow ball on the other end of one or more of your opponent's balls. When you do that, everything between the 2 bookends turns to your ball. And when all of the spaces are filled or when there are no more turns, whoever has the most of their ball on the board wins the game. And so there's the standard version, which is an 8x8. I'll talk about the other components here, but it's an 8x8 grid. It always starts with 4 in the middle. There is the 6x6 setup, which is just a smaller game board. Same rules. And then there's this pool setup, which is the standard board with the corners blocked out. They're set up as pool pockets, but those spots, the very corner spot, can't be used. It's blocked. And then this bumper setup, which has 8, 10, 12 spots where you can't play. Those are static spots that are occupied, and it just gives you a different pattern to place your balls on. But it's once again the same 8x8 size. So how do you play? Let's go to the game room. That kind of summarizes the basic rules, but I want to talk about those. So let's go to the standard game. And as I mentioned, this is the standard board. It has green felt by default. The rules had blue felt, but it's green felt. And this is clear enough. I have 2 yellow balls. She has 2 striped balls. But there's this chalk that gets set randomly once at the beginning of the game. And the point of it is to kind of block a typical pattern that you would have. If this was completely empty with no obstacles on it, then it would just be pretty much the same game every time. This says, oh, there's going to be a little bit of pattern change. Often this chalk will appear on the edges, and that definitely changes, as we'll talk about that in a minute. And then this 8 ball, it bounces around every single time you make a move, and so it could block any random spot for the next move. And so that also throws a little bit of luck, a little bit of a monkey wrench, I would say, in your plans, because your best move may not be available if this, and especially as the game goes on and these spots fill up. So my options, you'll see the cursor changing from the arrow to the hand. My options for my first move are going to be here, here. So I would surround that ball on each end vertically, or diagonally. I can surround that ball from here to here. So if I click here, you'll see that that's my move, and I have flipped that ball to all my color. If I have not turned on auto play, which I have not, then I can click that same ball again to undo that move. Or if I want to undo the move, I can click reset here. So it's the same as reset. Click my ball, decide what move. I'm going to go ahead and make that move, and then I would click submit. Now watch the 8 ball when I do that. So the 8 ball just moved to some other random open spot. So the chalk stays static, the 8 ball moves around. So I'm going to go to her queue, and that game that I just made a move in, she's got that game. And as I said, she'll have the inverse of the colors of mine, because just to keep it from being confusing when you jumped from game to game, I wanted the person to always have the same color ball. So we're always yellow when we're playing. And so then she would proceed to do a move and then submit that. And we'd go back and forth as we fill the board. I notice I just hit advance, and so I'm in a 6x6 game here with game driven as well. And you notice that the board's just smaller, so same rules apply. This would be if you'd want a shorter game. So go back to my queue. I want to look at the standard game for a second. So this is the game that we were in the middle of playing. Our appliances in this game, we have the explanation of how to play, a little bit of notes here, a little help. Then we have the felt changer, so you can just do that, just so you can see if it makes it more attractive to you. I like the green, the default green. And then we have this autoplay, which goes on or off. I told you that I was off on autoplay. If I turn autoplay on, then I'm not going to get that ability to undo my move. So if I come in here and I click, it immediately submits the move and moves to the next game. So I only turn that on for this game. If I advance to the next game, which is a pool version, then it's off. So if I want that permanently off, I have to go to the preferences and turn it off. So while I have the pool game up, I'll talk about that. As I said, the corners here are blocked, which means the edge here starts here on this side, goes from here to here. There's only 6 edge pieces on each side, 6 here, 6 here, 6 here. Why are the edges, why do those matter? Because in the strategy of this game, it is kind of a race to the edges. Since you don't want your ball to be able to be bookended, the corner spot is really the most ideal, and then off from that, any other edge pieces. So if you look at a game that I'm playing opponent Big Bert here. Here's a case where I just reach that corner, and that ball will permanently stay yellow. There's nothing he can do to change it. And so, as I mentioned, it's kind of a race to the corner. And as you get more edges, you're probably going to win. If I look at, I don't have any completed games, but maybe a game that's pretty far along, this game, you can see that this person, my opponent Scooby, has gotten all of this edge and all of that edge, and he will tend to win this game. It is possible to win without having the edges, but you have to be pretty clever. This is also an example of where the chalk came up in a corner, making the edge, the protected spots in each corner, or in this particular corner, these 2 spots, which can't be changed. And again, if we take that philosophy and look at the pool game again, you'll see that there are 2 unchangeable spots in each corner. That's really the sum total of the strategy. You can figure out your own strategy for this, but getting to the edges first is a good plan. And the only other layout I haven't mentioned is the bumper layout. And as I said, this kind of, if I go like that, it kind of limits the moves to switch this ball. It's still not perfectly safe. These 2 spots would be safe on each side. If you could get those turned, those aren't going to be turned again. And then, of course, the corner. So this is the game with the most unchangeable spots once you can grab one of them. It's kind of an interesting challenge. So those are the 4 variations. If you ever played the game Othello when you were young, it's got the rules similar to that, and it's just all of these random features we've added with different obstacles in the floating 8 ball, in the floating or the obstacle of the pool chalk. Those are the things that kind of make it different from game to game, so you don't feel like it's 100% deterministic. So this is one of the first games we wrote. It's very popular. It doesn't take a ton of thought to make your move, and it's really easy to pick up and understand what's going on. So a lot of people like this game, especially as one of their first games being introduced to the site. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you get out there and play some folks in it. It's a really fun game and a great intro to the site. See you around.